Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Christina Caro, and I am a licensed clinical psychologist in the Eastern Sierras of California. So, welcome back. The last week, I put up a video about how to manage worry in the age of coronavirus. The last week, I've been hearing from people that they're experiencing more intense symptoms than just worry. They're actually feeling really anxious going to the grocery store, or in our community where we have to go to the post office to get our mail, going into the post office where there's probably going to run into people in small corridors. So I thought I would go ahead and put up a video on how to manage signs of panic. Because when we're talking about people feeling like their heart is racing, or they're just feeling kind of nervous and shaky going to the grocery store, that's signs that you're starting to go into the fight, flight, sympathetic arousal. So what we want to do today is talk about what's happening so that you understand what's going on with your brain. And then I'm going to give you 4 concrete strategies that you can use and skills and practices to start to train your brain to be in a more calm state. Or if you find yourself getting into these panic symptoms, like while you're at the grocery store, some real quick tools to help calm down your body. So to start with this, I'm going to have to nerd out again with you. And I want to talk a little bit about the vagal nerve. The vagal nerve is the second largest nerve in the body. And as you can see, it runs all the way from the very tip of your brain in the prefrontal cortex. So that's kind of where your forehead is. Then it goes all the way down, and you can see where it kind of goes around your jaws. So all of those folks out here who might have some experience with TMJ, or maybe you grind your teeth at night, this is a sign that you have some hypertension going on. The nerve goes all the way down. You'll see a little bit in the trumps, and then some branching out around the heart, because this nerve gets your heart pumping and ready in case you have to go into fight flight. It also calms your heart down. It branches out into your lungs, and then as you go down, you can see there's a big branch. It kind of hits where your gut is. If anybody here has experienced irritable bowel syndrome, or when you're stressed out, you get a tummy ache or tension in your stomach, this is that nerve that's signaling to your digestive system that it needs to stop what it's doing. So then as we go down a little bit further, you'll see where the nerve branches around the pelvic girdle, and then a whole bunch of these tendrils go around your quadriceps and your hamstrings. And that's so that you can be ready to run or to kick in case you're in a fight-flight situation. So right now, I want to go back to that little branch that is right here in the prefrontal cortex. Now, the prefrontal cortex is the part of our brain where we do sort of our executive functioning. That's where we sort of think logically, and we can discern, we can evaluate between choices, and it's also our source of impulse control. So it's a really important part of the brain that you want to keep online right now when we're making decisions about, going to the grocery store or just making decisions in our life. The reason why that nerve is there, it actually shuts down the prefrontal cortex. It becomes hypoactive because originally, you don't want to be caught philosophizing about your ideas of whether or not it's okay to kill animals when a saber-toothed tiger is about to attack you. Right? That's not going to be helpful. The brain is designed that if there is an immediate threat, boom, you're going to be ready to run or to fight. That's not really helpful when what we're trying to do is get to the grocery store to buy some food. So we have to learn how to calm down our nervous system so that our prefrontal cortex can stay online, and we can remember what it is we were supposed to buy at the grocery store. We can be efficient about it. We can decide what it is we're going to get, make that commitment, pick it up once, and drive home safely. Make sure we have our social distancing and drive home safely. So those of you who are feeling kind of anxious, or you're noticing these symptoms like your heart is racing, or you're getting a little bit of sweaty palms, or you're feeling your gut tighten, I want you to recognize that that's an early sign of getting into sympathetic arousal. I talked about this last time, but sympathetic arousal, that's like putting your foot on the gas. That's your brain telling your body that you got to be ready to fight or to run. Parasympathetic state, that's the calm state. It's when we put on the brakes. We call that the rest and digest, or the tend or attend and befriend. And that's when we're chilling out. And that is the baseline for the human body. Is our normal state is actually parasympathetic. So what we want to do is learn how to get back into that parasympathetic state quickly. Now here's the good news. It takes as little as 30 seconds to reset your brain from sympathetic arousal to parasympathetic rest and digest. So what I'm going to do is teach you 4 strategies or 4 skills to help that process happening. And these are skills that I learned about it in a PTSD training, and what we were told was these are, the first one, the pelvic floor relaxation, is a technique that they actually use to train snipers because they have to be calm and able to think in high stress situations. So we're going to start with the pelvic floor relaxation. So what's the pelvic floor? So first of all, the pelvic floor is a set of muscles. And if you look at this image, you can kind of see where they are. Anybody who's done like a Kegel exercise in yoga class where they tell you to clench up your pelvic floor, the pelvic floor relaxation is actually doing the opposite. So what we're wanting to do in pelvic floor relaxation is unclench your muscles. So unclenching around your pelvic floor, unclenching those quadriceps and hamstrings and glutes, where all of those nerves are. Because when we unclench, we are sending a signal to the brain that everything is good. There's no danger. There's no threat. And if you can unclench for 30 seconds, it sends a signal to your brain that it can calm down. Now, if you remember, there was also a branch of sort of tendrils around your traps, in the back of your shoulders. So I also advise that people also try to unclench around your, notice if you're getting the turtle pose where you're getting stretched and your shoulders are coming up to your ears. So, unturtle, get your neck out, unclench your pelvic floor, and then unclench your quadriceps and your hamstrings. So once you do this, and only after you unclench, you can do the second strategy, which is called 4 square breathing. So 4 square breathing is when you inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, and hold for a count of 4. And then you can do a couple of rounds of this. Now, it's really critical. A lot of times people in stress reduction, you'll see to do this slow breathing. But what I've found is that if you have clenched muscles and then you're trying to breathe slowly, you're sending 2 different messages to the brain. One of them is clenched up, sending a signal saying there is an immediate threat. But now you're breathing really slowly. So what do you think the poor brain is going to do? It is wired to err on the side of survival. So if you are breathing slowly, probably your brain is thinking that saber-toothed tiger is actually sitting on your chest, and it better pump some more adrenaline into you so you can have the strength to get that saber-toothed tiger off of your chest. I've heard people say, and I've experienced this myself, that when I tried to do deep breathing or slow breathing and I was tense, it actually hurt my back. I felt a lot of pain trying to do it. I would feel some pain in my neck. Once I learned I had to relax and do that body relaxation first, and then started doing the breathing was so much more effective. The third strategy is called peripheral vision. So when we're in fight flight, the brain wants to hone in and focus in on what the threat is. When we are sort of in rest and digest, tend and befriend, we're more in a, checking out what's going on, and we're scanning. So another way to send a signal to the brain that everything is okay is not to hyper focus on, that guy down the aisle in the grocery store, but to kind of relax, calm your body, and then sort of scan a little peripherally, kind of see what your options are. And then slowly, using your brain, take that action if you need to back up or wait till that person's done and you can pass by with your 6 feet of distance or go down another aisle. All of that is determinant upon your prefrontal cortex being able to do what? Executive functioning, right? Discerning, evaluating, making decisions, and then taking intentional action. So the fourth skill that you can use is, I call it hard thinking. So sometimes we have to we're really nervous. We have to force. It might be the point where we're already have sweaty palms. We're already getting narrow vision. And because of that, we're forgetting our strategies to do. And if at the last minute you can be like, okay, I got to do some hard thinking. So hard thinking is forcing your prefrontal cortex to come back online, making it have to do work, because you can't be in both states. You can't have the gas on and the brakes on simultaneously. So some things that I, advise people to do is say, count backwards by 9 or count backwards from 7, something that's difficult. If you have a certain kind of job where there's procedures, like run through certain steps or procedures. I have a lot of climbers who are patients, go through like the process for setting up a 3-point anchor. Or, I have some healthcare practitioners run through some diagnostic protocols. Anything that makes your brain think hard. And I'll give you a real quick example. So I live in a mountainy area, and I took an avalanche safety course, which is something everybody should do if you play in the backcountry in the wintertime because of avalanche risk. Now, and if anybody took scuba, you'll understand it's very similar to getting your scuba certification. The first 2 to 3 days was basically 2 days on all the different ways you can die. Like you could, if you don't evaluate the risk, if you have the snow is unstable, if you engage in groupthink, someone says, let's just go, and everyone goes even though it's not safe. Like all these different ways you can die. So you're practicing to learn how to make good decision making. Well, on the 3rd day of this course, it was a whiteout blizzard. So everything that I had learned said this was a no-go day. But because it was a certification, they had us go out. and we broke into different groups. I rose my hand, said low risk group. So fortunately, my group went to a real gentle little hill, but it was still really poor visibility. I couldn't see. And as we started trudging out, it was really cold, white out. I got disoriented really quickly. And then everything that was going through my head was everything they taught us. I'm like, oh my God, isn't this groupthink? This is really, why am I doing this? And I just started getting really, really anxious. And there was a point where I could feel I was starting to go into panic. And that was right at the point when the instructor kind of turned around and checked in with everybody. How's everyone doing? And I was like shaking my head, like not good. So she came back and she's like, what's going on? And I said, I think I'm about to have a panic attack. And she looked at me and she's like, oh, okay, I don't know what to do for that. So I stopped. I said, you've got to get my prefrontal cortex back online. And I started to explain to her about why she needed to get my prefrontal cortex online. And in doing that, I activated my own prefrontal cortex and explaining all this and my memory system. And after halfway through explaining it, and I was about to tell her to have me start counting back by 9, I was like, wait a minute, it's okay. I'm good now. I just did it for myself. I'm okay. And then I was able to, we took a rest, we ate, we did some tending. And so kind of calmed down. And then we did some safety things, which was very helpful. So everything we did after that was just reinforcing safety, safety, safety. And, we finished the course. It was actually really fun. We got to snowboard and ski in fresh powder. So it turned out to be a really good day. But that just shows you the power. I was on the verge of a panic attack. And by just thinking, doing some hard thinking, I was able to actually shut it down. And then with everything she did afterwards, which was all sort of getting back into tending and, eating and digesting, that just helped calm the whole system down. So here are your practices that I'm going to give you. First of all, if you're prone to anxiety, so your symptoms are a little bit worse, what I recommend is that people set an alarm on your clock for, or like your smartphone or your smartwatch, like every 30 minutes to ping you. And that ping is a reminder to do a quick body scan, notice any place where you're clenching, and unclench for those 30 seconds. And just take a moment, unclench, and breathe. And you do that throughout the day. What most of my clients say on the first week is they find that they're clenched all the time. And so they start the practice. And I've had clients who've had a panic disorder and were able to eliminate their panic attacks or are vastly reduce it. So it was just an occasional thing. But it started with them setting up a practice and retraining their brain every 30 minutes, scanning, unclench, and then take some breaths. The second practice is after you unclench, do the 4 square breathing. Remember, inhale for 4, hold it for 4, exhale for 4, inhale, start again and do a cycle. The third thing is the peripheral vision. That's doing this sort of soft eyes, soft focus out to the corners of where you can see. And the fourth thing is hard thinking. So the times when you use it is you retrain your brain. That's something you should do every day, especially if you're prone to anxiety, because we're really trying to change the threshold. If you are in the early signs of sort of just feeling nervous or you're noticing more the worry thoughts, that's when you want to stop, scan, unclench, do your breathing, shift your attention and your focus. Get back into the present moment. Because remember, worry is usually worth looking forward. This bad thing's going to happen, or we're looking backwards. That bad thing happened in the past. It'll happen again. If you're at the point where you're actually feeling a racing heart, sweaty palms, nervous stomach, and you say you're going to the grocery store, go back to your car. First of all, go back, sit down, and then go through the protocol. Scan your body, do pelvic floor relaxation, then start doing the breathing pattern, have peripheral vision where you're kind of scanning the parking lot, and then sort of go through your grocery list and what you're planning, sort of envision the store, be methodical about it because you want to get in quickly, get in out, and just tell yourself, I got this, I've got this. And then finally, if you're in the grocery store already and everything was fine, but then, it was more crowded than you expected, or you're at the post office, more crowded than you expected, and now you're really feeling stressed out, just pause. You can unclench anywhere, stand up after this video, practice unclench, clench up your body first, tell yourself this is clenching, and then unclench. And you can do that practice. It's a way to train you to recognize clench versus unclench. But say in your store, you pause, you unclench, you breathe, and again, hard thinking. Review, okay, how many groceries do I need to get? Let me back up. Let me get to more open space. How much more am I going to collect? Oh yeah, what am I making for dinner tonight? And just start going through those normal thinking things because that gets your prefrontal cortex back online. So if you practice these things daily, you will find that you can start resetting the threshold of when your brain thinks that it needs to start getting into alert and sympathetic arousal, because what we want to do is we want to raise that threshold so it takes more of a saber-toothed tiger before you start feeling like you're in fight-flight. I provided the link to the exercise for the pelvic floor relaxation down below in the notes, so please feel free to click on that and download it if it's easier to have that with you and it goes through the steps. And then if you have any questions, just put them in the comments below. And if you have any requests for other videos, please also put that in the comments. Now, I am not a family therapist, so unfortunately I can't really answer any questions that you have about how to manage with your children being at home or something. That's just not one of my areas of expertise, but I'm sure there's some other providers putting videos up there. And then if you found this video helpful, just click like. And if you want to get notified of future videos, just hit the subscribe button below. So I hope that this was helpful. Be well, and I will see you next time.